Right, in 3, 2, whoa, I dropped my mouse, wow. Welcome back to New Rockstars. This is the big question, the show that gives you too much information about the perfect time to quit your day job, move down to a condo in South Florida, and start playing pickleball and shuffleboard while you collect that sweet, sweet pension, retirement, baby. Wait, do we get a retirement here at New Rockstars? Is that something that we get?
Absolutely not, MT. We work until the day we die. Or until Marvel stops.
My name is MT, and I'm here today with off-screen producer, Brandon. What's going on, Brandon?
Hello, MT. So glad to be here with you today. Man, I can't wait to retire. That's going to be the best.
One of these
Just
days.
Kicking back, drinking Arnold Palmers. It's going to be beautiful.
My bones feel like they're at retirement age, Brandon. They very feel... I'm ready to go. My bones are just like ready to rest out on a beach somewhere in Miami.
Oh, there's plenty of bones on Miami Beach, MT, but they didn't get there the good way. They got there the bad way.
Ooh, whoops.
Rest in peace, beach skeletons.
Fun fact, I actually can't really walk on beach surfaces all that well because I had a surgery on my foot.
Sand?
Sand. We call that. You call that
beach
sand.
Surfaces, if you will.
Beach surfaces. I don't leave this room. I don't leave the void.
MT's like an alien. It's his first day on Earth. He's like, human, show me to your beach surfaces.
Wow, is that a beach surface towel? Interesting. But what is our big question for today, Brandon?
Well, MT, I'm glad you asked. The Thor Love and Thunder teaser trailer gave us a look at where Thor's headspace is currently at, right? And it looks like our favorite god of thunder is ready to lay down his axe and give up his day job. But wait, can that even happen? Does there have to be a god of thunder? It all leads us to this week's big question. Can Thor just choose to retire?
The answer is no. But, okay, it's an interesting question for sure. Is life really worth living without a god of thunder swinging his hammer around in the clouds? More importantly, does the universe need a god of thunder in order to exist? And the best place to start this discussion is with the prophecy that means the most to the Asgardians, Ragnarok.
Ragnarok!
Ragnarok! So much of the Asgardians' existence appears to be tied to the cyclical prophecy of Ragnarok. It's this cycle which signals death and rebirth for the Asgardians, and during the events of Ragnarok, many gods die and Asgard is completely destroyed. And part of this prophecy involves Thor. Traditionally, as described in the comics and in real Norse mythology, Loki and Thor will engage in combat for the last time, but the fight will be interrupted by the Midgard serpent. Big ol' snake, and Thor ultimately defeats the serpent. However, the battle will do significant damage to Asgard. It is then that Surtur will arrive from Muspelheim to finish off Asgard for good. Then the cycle resets and begins again. So is the prophecy of Ragnarok. But we've already had Ragnarok within the MCU, and it sort of went off book with Thor basically skipping to the end of Ragnarok. And within the MCU, Odin is completely dead, Loki is dead, and Asgard is destroyed. So does this mean that Thor is free to just walk away from his role as the god of thunder?
It's a great point, MT, because as you said, yeah, a lot of these things that are supposed to happen during Ragnarok happened in a weird way. Like Odin died, but he's supposed to be eaten by like the Fenris wolf. Right? But that obviously didn't happen. He was dead before the wolf was brought back to life. And like Loki's dead, but he was alive during all of Ragnarok and died like later. And it wasn't like Thor that killed him. Another part of the prophecy, right, is like Loki brings the giants into Asgard, which he did do in Thor 2, right? So it happened, so all these events kind of happened, but they happened out of order. But then, yeah, you're right, Thor just kind of skipped to the end. He was like, put the crown in the eternal flame and Surtur will come and destroy everything. Boom, bing, bang, boom, done. And it was interesting, right? Because like Ragnarok, was a prophecy that existed in the MCU, but they didn't like talk about it a lot, right? It just kind of got brought up at the end. When it is this like important thing that all the Asgardians live by, and it's like very important to their culture, like this like death and rebirth. All these things have happened, right? MT, but nothing's been reborn yet. Like Odin's not back. Loki didn't come back. There's a new king of Asgard, who's Valkyrie. It is kind of weird. Like, can he just walk away? Don't you have to have a god of thunder?
And we do know from Thanos in Infinity War that he said no resurrections this time. What's so different about their deaths at the hands of Thanos that would, you know, warrant them not ever coming back. And if that can happen, then like if we can't have all these other gods, then like technically maybe Thor is as disposable as them.
That's a great point, MT. I didn't even think about this, so you just said it just now. Like, what made Thanos' declaration so important? Yeah. Did he know that, like, he's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to kill Loki, I'm going to do the snap, and my snap is going to, like, change all the prophecies. Like, it's going to end all of that BS.
Interesting.
Because, like, did he know, like, I'm going to do the snap and I'm going to destroy the stones? You think that was always his plan, to destroy the stones?
I think so, because, like, if he knew how powerful and godlike these stones were going to make him, he already knew of the temptation that was going to happen after. So, like, I'm sure it was always the plan to destroy the stones, because he had no purpose for them, like you said.
So maybe the prophecy is, like, tied to the Infinity Stones somehow, and he knew if I do the snap and I destroy the stones, even though they still exist in atomized form, blah, 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 blah. If they're gone, if the physical stones are gone, then that'll destroy, like, all of these, like, cyclical prophecies. It's not just Ragnarok, right, MT? Right. It's like everything in the universe is cyclical. Right. That's the whole point of, like, He Who Remains, right? Is to be there at the end to help start the beginning of the next thing. Yeah. So it's like Thanos maybe was just trying to, you know, to quote Game of Thrones, like, break the wheel. He wanted to stop this whole cycle. And he knew that, like, yeah, I'll kill Loki, and I'm going to do the snap, and I'm going to destroy the stones, so there'll be no more prophecy. So now that the stones are destroyed, maybe that explains why the cycle hasn't reset yet, right?
That is really interesting to think about, especially if you think about the nature of the Rainbow Bridge and the Bifrost and how it's all the different colors of, like, the Infinity Stones, essentially. So if the Infinity Stones are gone, maybe it means that, like, the juice that runs Asgard can't be, like, you know, reinstated.
Ah, okay.
That's really interesting. I like that idea.
Right.
I like it.
That's fun to think. Look at us just coming up with great theories right here, live.
Right on the fly. We're doing it.
It's happening in real time. And maybe that's why, like, Thor is kind of like, I don't want to say he's depressed, but maybe he's
definitely depressed.
He feels it inside of him. Well, he's alone. Frigga's gone. Yeah. Odin's gone. Loki's gone. Jane broke up with him. Valkyrie, who's like a great friend, she's busy. She's running Asgard, and he doesn't want to deal with it. And yet, maybe he thought, like, his dad would show up again by now. And he'd be like, oh, Dad's back.
Right?
But he has to die, too. I mean, that's part of Ragnarok, is, like, Thor dying and, like, getting reborn again later. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to die. He just wants to retire.
Thor might be thinking, like, maybe my people can't come back because I'm not dead. Like, maybe
I'm still there, like, and I don't want to die.
That would be so crazy. It's like I feel guilty for being alive because I'm the last person that is, like, here to like bring everyone back to life. So, like, it's like I don't want to, like, get rid of, like, my life cycle, because then that will, like, maybe generate a new variant of Thor that's not him, that has different memories. It's kind of like Doctor Who. It's like, all right, I'm dying and I'm getting a new body, but, like, it's not me, but it is me. But, like, it's just,
well, and maybe he thinks if the idea of, like, the God of Thunder dies, not Thor physically, but, like, the God of Thunder, if I kill the God of Thunder, if I say I'm walking away, he's dead. Maybe that's the last thing that needs to happen for it all to restart. But then he can stay alive. He's just not the God of Thunder. He's just Thor Odinson walking around being lonely.
Let's move on to another point here, because the MCU technically has been Thorless before, because the MCU has already displayed how there can be a vacancy in the Thor position. And part of the narrative of the first Thor film rests on Thor being stripped of his title and being sent to Midgard, also known as Earth, so he can learn what it means to be a god, or, you know, a less dickish god, because that dude was the worst. I mean,
a good
blonde
god.
Eyebrows will do that to you, make you a real jerk.
Oh, baby. Yeah, don't dye your eyebrows.
Don't do that ever again.
Turns you into a real a-hole.
A real a-hole. But yeah, this was all done under the watchful eye of Odin. So, I mean, when he wasn't sleeping anyway.
Good point.
Like, they keep Professor Xaviering Odin every time. It's like, oh, too powerful. Yeah. Time for a nap.
I need a nap.
And this was all done to make Thor a more responsible leader. So what do you think, Brendan?
We have seen, like, the vacancy to the God of Thunder, but it was like Odin was still around-ish, and Frigga was there watching, and it's like he was still an Asgardian, right? But he'd just been stripped of his, like, Thor, God of Thunder powers. Right. Odin knew this was only going to be like a week, right? He's a smart guy. He was like, he'll figure this out pretty quick. And I guess in theory, he could have, if it took longer than a week, he could have appointed somebody else as Thor just to, like, fill in the time. But it does show that, like, you don't need the spot 100% filled all the time.
Right.
Like, there can be a lapse of a God of Thunder for a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because there is a time when, like, Thor's still a kid, right? And he's not the God of Thunder. And then I'm I don't know if there is like a god of thunder, like when Bor's around, right?
Yeah.
Say you have Bor and you have Odin as like a little boy.
Yeah.
Was Odin the god of thunder before he became the All-Father? I don't know. I might be.
I think that
completely wrong on
I have this weird feeling that there was no god of thunder before Thor was born, and that the actual
like Thor is the god of thunder.
Yeah.
That's his whole role.
Yeah, like
right?
his whole thing is that he generates thunder, which is why he didn't need Mjolnir to be that powerful in Thor Ragnarok. It's like, I am the power. Right. I am Thor.
It's inside of him. It's just a way to direct his power,
exactly.
right? Using Mjolnir.
And like in the comics, like there's a huge point where like Thor growing up, he's like, I want this hammer. I want to one day be able to lift this hammer. And he even talks to the hammer. It's like, I'm going to lift you up, you stubborn piece of stupid rock, and you're going to be mine. And so, like, I think that, yeah, like, that whole point, there was no God of Thunder. And so, like, there's definitely a point where you don't really need one.
And, like, the hammer, he loses the hammer a lot.
Yeah.
He puts it down. Cap has it for a while. Loki has it for a little bit. It breaks a bunch. He uses something else for a while. It happens. He doesn't always have the hammer.
Action figures have got to be sold, Brandon. You got to sell them action figures.
We got to sell them
Seriously, there would be no Stormbreaker if it wasn't action figures. I'm telling you, man. God. Well, what about kids? I mean, what about them? They're terrible. Just kidding.
Screw them kids.
Them kids. But anyway, what about kids? Could Thor have some heirs to pass along the title of the God of Thunder to? There have been some precedent in the comics of Thor having children, after all, and a lot of different universes have shown Thor having children, especially a Thor living far in the future or way back in the past. But even the main Earth 616 showed Thor having offspring, because in Thor number 293 from the 1980s, they get into the story of the cycle of Ragnarok. And it is revealed that before the most recent Ragnarok a couple of thousand years ago, Thor had two sons, Magni and Modi. And these sons wound up sacrificing themselves to help Odin be reborn. And thus all of Asgard was reborn, including Thor. And this reborn Thor would be the Thor that the 616 universes knows, sons any kids. So that's kind of weird. And another infamous incident that involved Thor's offspring happened in the Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610. And in that universe, Thor wound up having a son with the goddess of death, Hela, which would be kind of weird in this universe, but Game of Thrones exists.
I don't think they were siblings in Ultimates. I don't think
they're not.
Like that.
It's a different universe, so like there's different rules.
She was the goddess of death. She ruled Valhalla. It was a little different.
Yeah.
It was a little different.
And like honestly, at the end of the day, it's mythology, so they'd be doing that all the time.
I mean, don't get into mythology. If you don't
like
know about
incest
that.
is all around mythology.
Yeah.
It is the main name of the game. So Thor wound up having a son with the goddess of Hela, Death, who was named Modi Thorson. And Thor winds up leaving him in Valhalla and doesn't raise him, and instead he gets his life lessons from Loki. And he turns out to be a villain. Who knew? And in the end, Thor has to kill Modi to prevent him from taking over the world, which is, classic behavior.
I mean, that's classic parenting that Thor learned right from his dad.
Hey.
Got a problem with your kid? Better kill him.
Better kill your kid, hey? But so, does Thor need to have an offspring to pass his role off to before he can just quit being Thor?
I mean, I don't think so, but it is a good point, right? You would think, like, well, if I'm not going to be Thor anymore, or I'm not going to be the God of Thunder, someone else needs to do it. And it is interesting because, like, there is all these instances of children of, like, Thor. So you would think at some point he's got to have kids. And yeah, the point you made about Earth 616, right? The previous cycle, Thor had these kids that like sacrificed themselves to bring back Odin and all this crazy stuff. But like he doesn't get around to having them again in like this version of Ragnarok. So it's like, come on, what are you doing, buddy? But I don't think he needs the kids. But this would be an interesting way to pass on the mantle, right? Is if like Thor somehow... I mean, that's something I would love to see is like as Thor ages, like as Chris Hemsworth ages, Marvel goes on for like another 20 years. If he becomes Odin, like that would be
I would nuts, love
right?
that to be the case. And like I have this weird like headcanon theory that Odin used to be a Thor, in that like there's like every Thor eventually becomes an Odin. And like they
become their father.
Yeah, and like they have knowledge of the previous cycle, but like they don't really talk about it, and so like they're just the Odin of the next cycle. I would love that to be the case.
The comics have shown that like Thor has all the power of like the All-Father, right? But they haven't really gotten to that in the MCU. But again, that's like a really cool idea that as he if he passes on this mantle of the God of Thunder, I would love for him to become Odin. Now, still keep Valkyrie as King Valkyrie. I'm loving that.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to take that away from her. I love that. But yeah, Odin like taking on the All-Father's power, and maybe not ruling Asgard, but just being out there, being a god in space. Celestials, you want to try some shit? Let's go. I'm protecting everybody. It's not just about Asgardians. I'm protecting all the realms. Valkyrie's taking care of Asgard, but I'm out here. I'm Thor, Odin Thor. Like, that would be awesome. I'm into that.
Like the actual job of Odin in all universes is just to protect the 9 realms. This is why I think that he links up with the Guardians in Thor 4. It's like, hey, you guys are guarding the galaxy? That's my entire deal. Let's link up.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah, I could totally see Thor just being like this Odin that's like more active than his more like traditional like, all right, I'm just going to chill around in Asgard. Because like that's Valkyrie can do that. That's the real king's job.
For sure.
In the comics, Thor has faced a couple of forms of retirement, because there is the Gore the God Butcher storyline that Thor Love and Thunder seems to be heavily based on. And we know in that story, Nick Fury tells Thor that Gore was right. And poof, he becomes unworthy again and walks away from his hammer. And that's when Jane Foster comes in. And he also retired from the Avengers, because when he became King Thor in 2019, he officially retired from the Avengers and took over ruling Asgard. But in the MCU, Asgard has a ruler in King Valkyrie, and it looks like for now, the Avengers are pretty much done. So does that mean that Thor is really free to retire?
We're going to get this Jane Foster storyline, but I don't know if she's going to keep the mantle past this film. I think it would be very interesting if she does. It'd be like a really interesting way to go about it. And like, as we were just saying, right? I love this idea of Thor being like more like an Odin figure and let someone else be the God of Thunder for a little while, or Goddess of Thunder, if you will. But yeah, it does seem like there's nothing tying Thor to this, I don't want to say realm anymore. Like there's certainly nothing tying Thor to Earth, right? That's why he left. He's like, I'm good. You guys got this under control. And yeah, the Avengers, I don't think are going to come back in any. I think the next version of the Avengers is going to be like totally new lineup. Maybe still have Hulk, but I think mostly a new lineup. Like if they're not going to call it a Young Avengers, that's what it is, right? It's going to be the next generation that becomes the Avengers. So yeah, I really do think like Thor is like free to retire, and maybe his retirement will be the last part of Ragnarok, and like he's not dead, but he's like, well, you retired, so the cycle starts over again.
I mean, we do have that shot in the trailer that is like super reminiscent to me of Luke Skywalker in his death in The Last Jedi, where like, you know, he just sort of just fades away. And like we know from Thor the Dark World that during Frigga's funeral, when Odin slams his little staff, she turns into like a bunch of sparkles and goes into the sky.
Yeah, she like goes into the universe.
So like, I wonder if like that's what Thor might do, is like, all right, here's my retirement, and like is me just like sort of giving up the ghost and just being like, all right, time to restart.
Yeah, I don't want Chris Hemsworth to go away just yet, but like it does feel like Thor's done being the God of Thunder, and maybe at the end of this film he still won't be the God of Thunder. He'll be something else entirely.
And a lot of the promo material for Thor 4 says one and only Thor. So like by the end of Thor 4, there's going to be one Thor, like definitively, and it's most likely going to be Jane Foster.
Right.
Because I can't see Thor being like, oh, thank you, Jane. Thank you for making great strides for women.
Good job.
Thanks for the marketing.
Go back to your desk.
It's good for the universe to have a protector. And that's what like the whole purpose of Mjolnir is, just to protect people in the entire realm.
Yeah.
And like we saw from Thor Ragnarok that Hela used to be the wielder of Mjolnir, and she completely abused her power, which is why I think Odin probably put that enchantment in the first place. Like, hey, there's too much power, and this is supposed to be to protect people and not to hurt people, which is what my daughter wants to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there has to be a guardian. I think that's the whole purpose of the hammer, and I think Jane Foster's the one to do it.
It sounds like you think the universe can exist without a God of Thunder, but it needs a protector.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Because I think that, you know, the whole purpose of Asgard is to protect the realm from dark forces, from people that want to hurt these beings of light. And for that to happen, there has to be a protector, and that's the God of Thunder. So it doesn't have to be Thor Odinson.
I agree, MT. I think Thor can retire, but there's still got to be a protector out there. If the cycle of Ragnarok is not resetting, if a new Odin's not coming in, or a new Bor or whatever, Someone's got to do it. So as long as I think Thor's still around protecting, everything's going to be okay. But yeah, maybe we're not going to have a God of Thunder after this. We're just going to have Thor.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. I feel like we only got one trailer, and we're just like, well, what's going to happen?
I mean, give us more, baby.
Seriously, come on, Taika. I want to see the Jane Foster trailer. Release the Jane Foster cut immediately. But you know what's already released? Our new latest Obsession shirt inspired by Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And as with all of our latest Obsession shirts, there's only a limited number available. And once they're gone from our universe, they're gone for good. Then you'll be forced to break into another universe and steal one from your variant. And then that's not going to end well. You're going to have to kill your variant, and then a whole Jet Li the One situation happens. It's not pretty. Spare your variant the trouble and check out newrockstarsmerch.com. It's a great way to support the channel. Literally, it helps us out so much. And score some really awesome merch as well. And before we dive into our bite-sized questions next, some words from the people that help us bring Big Question to you. People like Avast. Avast is actually a global leader in cybersecurity for more than 30 years and is trusted by over 435 million users. Avast empowers you with digital safety and privacy, no matter who you are, where you are, or how you connect. Avast's new all-in-one solution, Avast One, helps you take control of your safety and privacy online through a range of features. Features like firewall protection that keeps your personal information secure and prevents attacks that seek to access your computer and steal your data. They also offer Smart Scan, a tool that finds and removes viruses and resolves the most common privacy and performance issues through an optimization scan. And Avast One offers both free and premium options. And we here at New Rockstars like using Avast One for their award-winning antivirus that stops viruses and malware from harming all of our devices. And thanks again to Avast for supporting Big Question. Avast prevents over 1.5 billion attacks every month. And with Avast One, you can confidently take control of your online world without worrying about viruses, phishing attacks, ransomware, hacking attempts, and other cyber crimes. So learn more about Avast One at avast.com. Again, that's Avast One at avast.com. All right, Brandon, you ready for the bite-sized questions?
Oh, am I?
Get ready for some num-nums. Num.
Boop, boo. Oh.
Speaking of edible things, if Galactus can eat planets, can he eat ass?
How dare you, MT?
Okay, here we go. If Galactus can eat planets, does that mean he can also eat Celestials? And this is from Frey Girl on Discord. Thank you, Frey Girl.
Yes, thank you. When it comes to the diet of Galactus, he's known for his proclivity in devouring planets. Yes. But it's not like he can just munch on any old planet out there, right? He's interested in planets with sentient life. So he can't just munch on any old space rock. He consumes the cosmic energy of the planet. And really, he doesn't like eat the planet, like grab it and chew on it. He's got these machines, they convert things to energy, he sucks out the energy. And usually there's like a husk of a planet left behind, right? He's not just like eating it outright, eating it outright, eating it outright, eating it outright, eating it outright. Galactus is, of course, made of pure energy himself, and that energy is known as the power cosmic.
Yes.
And this power cosmic fuels all of his abilities. Galactus is a primordial entity, much like the Celestials. Right. And the Celestials themselves also have access to virtually unlimited cosmic energy that gives them their abilities, right? And we don't even know what they look like because our tiny human brains can't comprehend it.
But I bet they all look like handsome Squidward.
They're all handsome Squidwards under those helmets. We don't really know how much the Celestials need to refuel like Galactus does. But we do know they need the energy from sentient beings to hatch out of their planets, right? So they're very similar in that way. But like Galactus gets hungry very often. The Celestials just kind of run on their energy, but he needs to refuel a lot. So there have been instances of Galactus going toe-to-toe with a Celestial. In fact, a recently fed Galactus took on 4 Celestials and was able to hold his own. 4 at once, they ganged up on my boy.
Damn, they tried to jump.
They tried to jump Galactus, but he had just eaten, and that was their first mistake. You got to catch him when he's hungry.
Not after my KFC.
Don't let your man eat. Yeah, he was like, I have my spinach, motherfuckers. That would be funny, him cracking a planet like,
that would be hilarious. It's just like a nearby planet full of, like, a whole civilization just dying for a Popeye bit.
Just the spinach people just living on their spinach planet. Just,
the Kotati. It's like, oh my God.
So this all happened in Fantastic Four number 602 back in 2012. So as long as Galactus has some cosmic energy in his tum-tum, he could defeat a Celestial and drain it of its cosmic energy. So yes, he can eat a Celestial, because that's how he eats, right? He drains the energy. Ooh. He did eat like a Celestial in this comic, like he drained all the energy out of it. He walked up to another Celestial, grabbed it, and like tore it in half, which was badass.
Damn.
It's pretty awesome.
Much like...
So yeah, Galactus can eat Celestials. As long as he's powered up, he can do it. Otherwise, I think the Celestials could take him. And also, like, these are just, as we've talked about before on BQ, a Celestial in our universe is just an avatar of the main one outside of the multiverse. So, you know, kill as many as you want. You haven't done the job. Like, they're still out there.
You can't really kill them. All right, here's another question, Brendan. What role will Bruce Campbell play in Multiverse of Madness? And this is from Order Through Chaos on Discord.
So right now, as we film this, we have not seen Multiverse of Madness yet. But by the time you at home are watching it, Multiverse of Madness will be out. So we're going to make our picks right now, sight unseen, and you can tell us if we were right or not. Please don't spoil anything in the comments.
Please no spoilers. This is a very special occasion.
So having not seen the movie and knowing, you know, Bruce Campbell is, of course, one of Sam Raimi, who directed Multiverse of Madness, one of his favorite actors, was in the Evil Dead movies and had appearances in, like, all of the other movies that he's made. He's had a little cameo. He's on all 3 of the Spider-Boys. You can check him out there. So I think Sam's going to throw him a bone here. I think he's going to give him a good bit part, right? A lot of people think he might show up as, like, Ash from Evil Dead, like, going through the multiverse. I don't think that. I think they're going to give him a hero to show up as. I think we're going to get a quick cameo of Bruce Campbell as Captain America. I think we're going to get a Bruce Campbell Captain America.
Oh my God. All right.
Who's like, maybe not great. Maybe he's like a little bit lazy or something, but I think he'll show up as like a kind of old man Bruce Captain America. That's my wild pick. What about you, MT?
That would be good. I would love to see that. I would think he'd make a really great Captain America. I personally would love to see him as the Chameleon. Just because he had all those different roles in the Sam Raimi universe, I think it'd be great if like he was just like, all right, I'm the Chameleon. I'm a man of, I don't know, many. Like
I was all those things. I've been going about the multiverse, like changing shapes. And
I don't know. Like it'd be fun if just like he was just like around.
I like it. I don't
know. That's just me being weird.
That's a good pick.
Thanks, buddy. You too. But now it is time for our box of scraps, which is always right and never wrong.
Did you build stuff with a cave with it? What's happening?
You better make me a high-tech Iron Man suit.
You gotta build it with the box of scraps.
But Brandon, I gotta ask you, what would be your dream retirement?
Oh, man, when I hang up the old Jabra earpods and kick back and it's time to retire, you know, I'm still gonna want a job. I'm still gonna do something to keep me active. Okay. I definitely want to be like a tour guide or like a park ranger at some like historical site and like lead tours for school children and be that annoying old man who tells you tons of stories and facts about wherever you are. Like I've visited Fort Sumter many times out there outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and like I love going on that tour because like the tour guides there, the park rangers, they do a great job of like making you feel like this is the most epic place you've ever been in your life. It all started right here. I was like, that's what I want to do as an old retiree. I'll do it for free. You don't got to pay me, government. I'll do it. I just want to be a tour guide.
Cool. I love that. It's like it allows you to like interact with people and to like, I don't know, just keeps your mind sharp at that age, like in the retirement age.
Yeah, you got to keep this old mousetrap sharp.
I think a dream retirement scenario. I probably just want to become a comic book shop owner, honestly. It seems pretty chill. I just like comic books, and I love being inside of a comic book store. Like that's my home. Like whenever I get stressed out, I like to just go into a comic book store and just like rummage through dollar bins and just to see like all the interesting stuff that has come out throughout the course of all these decades. Because like literally everyone, if you haven't gone to a comic book store in a while, go through the dollar bins and just pick up stuff and just like read books for $1. Buy a book for $1 and read like all this really dope shit. Because like that's how I learned all this really fun stuff about Marvel. And so like I think
support your local comic book shops, people. Stop getting your comics on Amazon. They show up in the mail. They're all dented. It's a mess.
Seriously, go to your local comic books. They are the reason why we have jobs. So like, let's be real, bro. So like, go over there and like, I would love to do that as a retirement because like it just seems fun. I get to talk Marvel and share all my useless knowledge.
All those annoying future kids, Generation Omega, whatever they're going to be called, being like, we read hollow comics that are projected onto our eyeballs, and you're like, pick up a book, you whippersnappers.
Get a paper cut like a real nerd.
Trees went extinct 100 years ago, old man.
But that is it for this episode of Big Question. Thanks again to Brandon, as always, for joining me on this episode. Please follow him at Grin and Barrick on Twitter. You can follow me at MasterTainment on Twitter if you want to see me tweet some weird shit. Follow New Rockstars here on YouTube and all of our social media platforms. And if you have some big questions of your own, ask them on Discord. If you're 18 and older, click the link for the New Rockstars Discord server in the description box below and join the conversation. And we love you guys so much for tuning in with us, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.